Hello everyone, my name is the Fox. This is the Peakago 7-inch UMPC laptop. This is using, across the board, a Z8350 Intel Atom processor. It's a kind of a low-end quad-core. There are three different versions. There's a 4GB model, there's an 8GB model, and there's an 8GB model with 4G connectivity, which I assume is going to be one of the things that a lot of people are going to be interested in. The 4GB model is $270, which is an extremely low price for these types of devices, especially for UMPCs. UMPCs are traditionally very expensive. We'll go ahead and take a look at this. There will be a link in the description field to the Indiegogo, which will be live on November 13th. Thank you very much to Peakago for sending this out to me for review. This is what's inside. You have a little user manual that very briefly goes over everything that you could, I guess, care to look at. It's pretty straightforward. It's a Windows device. It'll kind of go over briefly about going into tablet mode. You will get a little USB-C charging cable here. There will be no charging wall charger itself. It's just the cable. So you will have to provide that, but it will charge off of 5 volt, no problem. So a lot of chargers that you probably already have will be compatible with this. Let's go ahead and take a look at this and take out this little sleeve. As you can see, this is like a new setup for me. I am technically still on vacation, but I had to get this review out, so here we are. Apologies if this is all kind of not the correct setup that I'm normally accustomed to. I have to make do with, and I have some crazy lighting set up as best as I could possibly do it. So this is the Peakago. Everything is all aluminum, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the inside real quick. These are the connectivity ports. So we have a micro SD slot. We have a 3.5mm audio jack. This is a micro HDMI slot, a USB 3.0 port, and a Type-C USB port. The good news about this is that it will branch out to different hubs. I plugged in my headset connector to it, and it did operate just fine. Additionally, there is no ribbon cable to this. This is directly on the main board, which we'll see on there, which is a big bonus feature for me. Usually I always hate it when they have these opposite side ports that they'll just have a ribbon cable going over there. It's not ideal, and you'll usually have USB 2 type functionality right here. We have the front firing speakers left and right here. One thing worth noting is this exhaust port doesn't exhaust anything because there is no fan. This is entirely passive cooling. There is a pretty decent sized heatsink on this, and we'll go ahead and start opening this up. Give me 1 second. Alright, so it is just 6 screws to take out the bottom plate, and we can see that this is all aluminum. Inside is all aluminum as well. There really isn't very much plastic used outside of the plastic keys on the keyboard, these chocolate island style keys, which a lot of people are pretty much a fan of, which Apple has popularized a long time ago and has since now used those butterfly keys. Here we can see this very large copper plate. It is pretty thin. You can see it right there. But it does do more than enough for what the Z8350 actually requires, especially because in the BIOS it is set for energy efficiency, so this thing isn't really getting too hot, and then also transferring to this aluminum plate. Everything is pretty much not hot at all, and you can see right here, this little vent does nothing. It's not connected to anything at all. Very quickly, you can take a look at the battery. You can see that we have 16.65 watt hours. How that's going to translate is that this SoC itself will top out around 6 watts. I don't know if you'll ever actually get there without playing games and stuff. Generally speaking, you're going to be around 4 watts on just general CPU tasks at most. What that means to you is, and we're also using a MIPI display itself, which is one of the reasons why using an Atom chipset is popular, because it can do MIPI out directly. There is no embedded DisplayPort to MIPI adapter. You can just go straight to MIPI. This does bring about a power savings to it, so in total, the total power budget with this, even at max brightness, is around like 6 to 7 watts. What that means to you is that you're going to be, at the worst case, get 2.5 hours of battery life. That is the worst case scenario. That is you playing a game at full brightness, everything going crazy, go nuts. Generally speaking, you should get 3 to 4 hours out of this type of device with general usage. If you were to go to the extreme and lower the brightness and really try to minimize everything using Windows' little battery slider to maximize battery life, you could probably get up to 5 hours on this, but nothing really more than that. So your range is going to be 2.5 hours to 5 hours on this type of device. Here is the type of thing that I was talking about before, where we can see that it's directly soldered onto the main board. This is always a positive sign to see, so that you're not actually having this long ribbon cable that's connecting this to the PCB and trying to transfer over that distance. Here we can see the display itself for MIPI. Over here, I don't know what's going on. What are we connecting here? Something is connecting here, and I'm not too sure. Here we have Wi-Fi. This particular model is the 8 GB model. Unfortunately, it is set as single channel, which is something that I wish wasn't the case even for the 4 GB model. They really should have done dual channel for both. It is single channel only, meaning there is only one stick of RAM on here. Not that that matters that much, but in any type of game that you're going to playing, just to get that little bit of extra performance, that would have been nice, but that is not going to be the case here. Here you can see the keyboard, you can see the little touchpad. Here's our battery connector, and here's another connector which maybe is for 4G. Here we have the left and right speaker. I would take this out, but I am on vacation, so I don't have any thermal paste with me to actually see the business end of this. I might have another video of that when I actually install Linux on this and see some other stuff. Right now, this is just going to be a general review of this. For the most part, it's pretty bare bones. You can see the tiny little PCB and it's this giant copper plate that's here, more than sufficient for passively cooling the Z8350. All told, it is designed well enough within the specs, within the use case that it is targeting at. I'm going to go ahead and close this up, and we're going to actually go ahead and take a look at Windows and stuff. Alright, so this is the keyboard itself, and it's very, very reminiscent of the GPD Pocket 1 and also the One Mix, which was inspired by the GPD Pocket 1. So then you have this very, I want to say, tightly clustered set of keys that are on the right hand side. This is a very left justified keyboard. If anyone remembers my earlier Pocket 1 review, everything over here feels really good, so the entire left side of this feels good outside of this one caps key, which I would really recommend changing to an A key, because you can fat finger this pretty easily to do caps, which really isn't that necessary of a key in and of itself. This little delete key is actually fine. It's actually a bit of an improvement over the Pocket 1. Here we can see a little IR sensor. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that. How it works is that the touchscreen is going to be one of the main, not one of the main, but at least 50-50 in terms of input device that you're going to want to use. The Chocolate Island style keys are very nice to type on. You do have these half-width keys that I'm not the biggest fan of here. While the keys are available, generally speaking, it isn't the best. Here you can see the power button, which initially I thought was going to be a fingerprint sensor, especially for how it was. Let's see if I can just jump into, there we go. So we can see the BIOS, and everything is available to us here. This is a 1920 by 1200 screen, so it is 16 by 10. So a lot of these things will be a little bit hard to see. I'll see if I can focus on them. Now, while these settings will be available to you, I really don't recommend changing them, again, because you only have that passive heatsink, so you can see that the power technology is set to energy efficient. This is preferable, especially for the use case of this type of two-in-one little UMPC. I really would advise against trying to change all that. Here we can see the memory, and this is the part that's a little bit critical here. So you can see total memory size is 8 GB. Frequency isn't the fastest. We can go to 1333, so this is just a tiny bit slower than I would have liked. Additionally, I would have preferred two memory slots of 4 gigs each, just to get us into dual channel memory instead of single channel memory. These are tiny little things that you're really not going to be playing games on it, but it would just be maximizing performance out of it. And it's just a little thing that I would have preferred. Again, this is a pre-production model, so things may change. You can see that this is a portrait display. Hey, what's going on, guys? You can see my crazy setup going on in the back here in this hotel. Let me go ahead and boot into this. You can see my Disney World shirt. Alright, this is loading up. Let's see if we can. Hold on, let me boot into this. Alright, now that we're back into Windows, I did have to calibrate some of the color temperature over here. So over here is going to be a little bit warmer, especially some of the incandescent lamps that I'm using. I do apologize, but I did try to color correct so that this display would actually show how it's supposed to. You can see how much it will get blown out if it's just trying to do my hands correctly. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this, and I'm going to try to be consistent with taking a look at the viewfinder. So one of the nice things about this type of device is that, you know, we got this little, come on baby, there we go, that's better. We have this little IR mouse sensor that's here, which is nice enough to move around. I would still recommend kind of just using your finger. Oh boy, let me not do that again. Apologies. So one of the nice things about this is that when you do go into tablet mode, go ahead and switch this around. As soon as you do this, it does deactivate all of these keys. None of these keys will actually work. So if we go and not start Roblox, So now that we're in here, you can see, no. Oh, please stop. No. So that when I'm in here, you can see the little cursor is blinking. And if I press the keys like crazy, nothing happens, which is the ideal situation here. So now that we're in tablet mode and you can actually hold it as a tablet, you do have enough of bezel over here to not have anything interfering. Let me get this a little bit closer so that this light isn't too blasting. We'll go ahead and start up Asphalt 9 just to kind of show some gameplay that is going to be possible on this. Now, one of the things that's worth pointing out here is that the graphic settings is put to the lowest possible here to actually make it playable. Let me just get straight to it so it's not focused on me so much. So now one of the things that I did want to show off with this particular demo is that you can see that the accelerometer actually works just fine on this, and it will automatically switch. Additionally, one of the other things for playing this type of game is that the accelerometer will work when we're actually playing. Let's see if I can't. I don't. Just let's play. Go, please. Let's see if I can't fix this in real time so that it matches what we're seeing. So another thing that we can see, this loading time is kind of the result of the slow processor itself. So even though we do have enough RAM for this particular game, and even the specs of the SoC itself, at the resolution that we're running, we're doing 60% resolution scale, it operates fine enough. But for the most part, like things like Roblox and stuff won't run that well. Let me pause this real quick. I'm going to increase the brightness on this just a bit. Resume. Hang tight. Yes, drift. And you can quite clearly see frame dips. And it is worth noting that this is the lowest setting that I can actually put this game on. So everything's blown out here. Alright, let me go ahead and quit out of this game. Alrighty, so another game performance type of thing that we're going to do is we're going to run Minecraft. Now, it is worthwhile noting that you're not really going to get the best performance out of this. And again, I hate to sound like a broken record here, but I do want to kind of stress the point that this is a low-end atom that is going to be used on here. And Minecraft, especially the Windows app version, does run much better than the Java version, but if you prefer the Java version, you should really anticipate that it's not going to run very well, and you really should opt to instead play the Universal Windows app version. So we're going to go ahead and load this. Let me go ahead and load it up. Alright, so I am playing with an Xbox One controller right now that is connected via Bluetooth, and that is running off of the machine's own Bluetooth connection. This is Bluetooth 4. See if I can't bust up a tree. And you can see that the frame rate isn't the best. It's playable, not the best, but it will do the job. Now, the only reason I bring up these types of different use cases is only so that it can kind of demonstrate what you really should anticipate for this. I don't really anticipate you're going to be playing much games, especially tablet games. And one of the other things that is worth pointing out here, just so that you've already seen the performance of that, we'll go ahead and can I close this? Let me go ahead and save and quit. Alright, so now one of the big things to pay attention to right here is that this is Windows 10 Home, but specifically it's in S mode. And what S mode means is that you can't actually use any Win32 apps on this. If you want to, you're going to have to pay to upgrade your activated license on here. So there are, again, use case wise, how Peakago is trying to ship this device is that It should only be using Universal Windows apps. Really shouldn't be using Windows 32 apps, and it's just a way to minimize and streamline the experience that you would get on this type of device. For my personal preference, I would prefer LTSB, LTSC, the newer version, 1809 build LTSC, or the 1607 build of LTSB. Those builds are going to be far more streamlined. However, you will not have access to the Windows Store in those instances. You can see here that it says pen and touch support with 10-point touch. I have confirmed that there are 10 points. I don't have a pen to touch on this. I don't think the literature that I have doesn't say anything about a pen digitizer itself. That is something that I'll have to reach out to and I'll have to update. But as of right now, I have no information on a pen digitizer, even though it does say that it does support it right here. Additionally, I don't have 4G connectivity to test here. This is only the 8GB model. So if you were worried or concerned or had questions about the 4G connectivity model, I can't actually answer any of those right now. That particular model is going to be $400. That is the top end. So that is 8 gig with the 4G connectivity at $400. This particular model is $340, and then the 4 gig model is $270, which is extreme pricing. And I think for that cheap of a price and 4 gigabytes, you can make it work. Again, I'm going to take a look and see how we can get Linux on this. I do anticipate having some decent support of getting Linux on this because Adam Airmont stuff has been around for a very long time now. Very quickly, we can go ahead and take a look at the test manager. I will also run Cinebench on this. It will be from the Universal Windows App Store. You can see that, already with the 8GB model, we are using 2 gigabytes worth of RAM. CPU-wise, we're kind of okay, but just opening that instance, the limited frequency that we have across all 4 cores, there is no hyper-threading. It can become bogged down rather quickly. However, just be cognizant of what type of the use case of stuff that you're going to use this for. It is for light browsing. If you planned on playing games or emulators on this device, remember that the S mode will restrict you, so you will have to get out of S mode because you're going to want to use Windows 32 apps, and there are no emulators on the Windows Store at the moment. Even for RetroArch, that's not on the Windows Store, so you will be limited in that regard. If you did want to get emulators on this, you should be looking at PlayStation 1 and 64 class of emulation up to that tier to be playable. Anything below will be fine. Anything over that, you're going to have a bad time. And that's pretty much it. Wi-Fi, all that stuff is working just fine. It is, for all intents and purposes, a pretty decent device. The cost is, I think, what is going to be attractive to a lot of people. So on the low-end model, especially for limited use cases, if you want to put Linux on this or a streamlined version of Windows 10, I personally feel like that is going to be, especially from a travel perspective point of view, you do have the micro HDMI output and you do have hardware decoding for 1080p on this. So using this as a travel laptop to take with you to plug into hotel TVs like I have here today, to play anything either from your Plex or from Netflix or from whatever, this will do the job just fine for that. And if, obviously you're in tablet pricing at the 4 gigabyte model, but then having the ability to use either full-blown Linux desktop or a full-blown Windows 10 desktop is attractive. Very quickly, let me go ahead and load up Cinebench for you. I'll do that right now. Alright, very quickly I just want to show you that I am running Cinebench while downloading Cinebench from the Windows 10 store. Again, Windows 32 apps won't work on this unless you go ahead and purchase the license for it. So that is something that, again, apologies for sounding like a broken record, but I do want to repeat myself here just so that when someone gets this, they don't feel like they're getting shortchanged or something. You will have to pay for the Windows 10 license to get out of S mode, or you could try just using reinstalling or using Linux or something else. I'm going to go ahead and let this finish, and then I'll start up Cinebench and we can take a look at the result. Alright, well that took a painfully long time to start up, and you can see right here that we do have all 4 cores that are kind of busy doing it. We are running in battery mode. It doesn't change if that is running powered or not. It's going to be the same instance. One other thing worth noting is that there is a battery protection limit on this, so that when it does hit 95%, it will say plugged in, not charging. It'll try to keep it at 95%. It won't charge to 100% unless basically the device is turned off, and anything that it goes below, that is itself protecting the battery, its own battery protection mechanism. So nothing really to be worried about there. This is taking an extremely long time, probably off-screen rendering where we can't see right now. I'm going to go ahead and let this finish and then show you the result, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what type of performance you should expect out of the 8350 on this device. Alright, so I plugged it in just to be sure. We're topping out at 1.6 gigahertz across all 4 cores, regardless if we're plugged in or on battery. Literally the same type of performance out of both of them. This is taking a painfully long time. This is the R20 version of Cinebench, so it's to be expected, I guess, a bit. But I'm going to go ahead and let this finish. Again, that energy efficient mode that's setting in the BIOS is one of the reasons for this to be going so slow. And more to the point, again, set your expectations on the performance of this type of device. So I'll go ahead and, let this finish. Alright, I just wanted to show you right here because I am praying a crazy amount of time for this to finish. But you can see that we are pegged at 1.6 gigahertz, and that is really slow for each one of these Atom cores. But again, this doesn't change. You can see that this has not changed at all, even when plugged in or not. So I'm pretty much just dead in the water waiting for these buckets to fill up. I'll go ahead and wait again. I just wanted to update you guys because this is taking so long. You might want to just rewind a little and see how long it's been taking. So you can see it's 2:38 p.m. right here. And just kind of see how long this has been going, because it's kind of funny. Anyway, I'll go ahead and cut ahead of this again. And it finally finished. So you can see right here we have 183 points on Cinebench R20. That took forever. You can see 246 right here. I'm glad I actually did this, even despite it took forever to finish. I'll go ahead and close this out. The only other thing that I think we need to showcase here, Windows key work, is the camera. Oh, that's probably caps lock camera. And we can take a look at, there's a little front-facing camera right here. Get this to load, and it is a USB camera, and you can see the quality of this is fair enough. If you need to do any type of video conferencing, it will do the job. Frame rate is okay, resolution is poor, but again, even for, when you think about it, for the $280 price tag, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, well, that's it. So that's the Peakago. It is a very, very inexpensive. Let me go ahead and take off this lock so that we can actually just take a better look at this now and get some better lighting on this. It is all aluminum. The materials feel really good. Typing on the keyboard is really nice. In tablet, the keyboard turns off. There's everything that you would want feature-wise. The CPU is clocked low on purpose. You will be able to, especially if you look in the BIOS, you will be able to override that. I really heavily suggest against doing that. It's passive cooling only, so you will be doing yourself a disservice if you went ahead and overrode that setting. So you should be looking at between 2.5 to 5 hours of battery life. 2.5 at the worst case scenario, and that is absolute worst case. 5 hours on the max end. You should be looking around 3 to 4 hours on average. Again, this is just for lightweight usage, light gaming, pre-2000s PC gaming. I would heavily recommend either using LTSB or LTSC build of Windows 10 instead of the Windows S build. Having said that, the Windows S build is a wise choice from Peakago, because it will limit how much you can actually do, and it will limit you to Universal Windows apps, which are a bit more efficient than Windows 32 apps can be. So yeah, that's it. This is my quick look at the Peakago. I'll be doing a follow-up video, especially when I get home after vacation, to take a look at Linux, and we'll try to take a look and peek at some other things. Anywho, if you're looking for a travel-sized, inexpensive UMPC, that is what I would designate this. You really should be looking at lightweight types of applications. There's lightweight web browsing, very lightweight gaming, pre-2000s PC gaming, under PS1 emulation. Again, you won't be able to do that on Windows 10 S mode. 1080p will be hardware decoding on the chip itself, which is great. The micro HDMI port does work, and if you want to take it traveling with you, it is a lightweight device. These are my use cases that I would say that it would be worthwhile to get. If you wanted that 4G connectivity, that is a pretty nice get, especially at $400. The 4GB version doesn't actually sound that bad to me at $280. $280 is really inexpensive, and then we're in tablet territory. And then, it kind of becomes a bit more attractive in terms of how much you can actually do at that price point. Anywho, that's it. As always, guys, thank you for your time, and thanks for watching.